My friend, welcome to the world's best kept secret podcast, the podcast that shows spiritual entrepreneurs how to clarify their message and then how to turn that clarity into revenue. I'm your host, Prima Jope, a mentor and message expert since 2020. Whether you seek to simply clarify your message or feel ready to monetize your brilliance, this is your safe space for actionable guidance and practical tools on how to turn your woo into predictable revenue. Let's get started, shall we? Welcome back. Today is a special day, and we're going to talk about how to get yourself to a place of more vitality and more body optimization, I think, after 40. A lot of people think after 40 you age, you begin to slug and all of the things. But what if it was a way to even get better? What if 40 was the age to start? To take care of your mind, your body, and your spirit. With me today is Dr. Mary Sanders, and Dr. Mary Sanders is somebody who has over 30 years doing this. She's a chiropractic, which means she understands the body. She studied psychology. She will tell you her qualification. And she's someone who is deeply spiritual. I don't read bios because that gets me lost. But I love her to explain to us what she does, how she does it, and all of that. So we're going to spend some time talking about after 40, what do you have to work with? How can you make things 100 times better than they were before 40? Because when you're 15, you can eat anything, sleep anywhere, and be fine. When you're 20, then, I don't know, you start being careful. When you're 30, you probably, I don't know, can go to the bar, you can drink 10 bottles of something, and you go home. When you're 45, there's things which you may still do, but you get beaten thrice. So when you're 45 and you go to the bar and drink 10 glasses of wine, chances are you may not recover like you did at 25. And so what you're talking about is really like how do you give yourself a chance to have the best time after you're 40? Instead of slugging down and, I don't know, menopause and then losing your head and all things in the middle. Like, how do you get yourself to skip the menopausal madness or whatever that is in the middle there that is supposed to happen to drag you down, to slow you down, and everything in the middle? As always, the best thing you can do for me at any point when you feel like hopping off is think about what's the one connection that is first degree to you that would use expert change their life. Could you know that is over 40 and is lost and confused about all of the changes, all of the hormones, everything in between? Because that is the person that needs to meet Dr. Mary Sanders. Dr. Mary, welcome to the show. I am excited that I get to interview you today. It's an honor for me.
Prima, sincerely, the honor is all mine. So thank you for the opportunity to share time with you and all of the listeners out there today.
Let's start with the work you do, because there is being a doctor and being a spiritual person and being a psychologist. Now, that's too much for us. We want to understand, like, what's the context of the work you do in regards to all of those things? Like, how do you bring all these things together to serve humanity? And what can I expect if I'm listening in going, I wonder if they're going to talk about psychology, or if they're going to talk about chiropractic, or if they're going to talk about woo, like, what are we going to talk about? What should we expect if we're listening on the other side? Because there is someone going, I wonder what they're going to speak about.
I appreciate that question. And if I were to be concise, I would say that we're going to have a very integrative conversation. We're going to look at the person, the people as a whole being, just not sectional pieces. So as you mentioned, my 30 years in chiropractic, I understand the physical body extremely well. I have an appreciation for how the nerves function, how communications messages get relayed within the physical body. And with the background in positive psychology, then I understand the space between the ears. What makes people tick? What makes people light up? What makes people have a thriving and vibrant life? And then last but not least, the energetic and the spiritual realm comes from my training as a medical intuitive. So I've been trained to expand my awareness, to receive information, to guide the other person in their healing journey, always with the intention of keeping it to the highest aspects for the other people.
This is interesting. We get to be three-dimensional. We get to have the body, we get to have the mind, and we get to have the soul, and health is a combination of all the three. For you to access the highest vibrant self, we need to have these parts coming together. And hopefully today we're gonna see how, because I think a lot of the confusion is people can go all in, fix the body, and then things don't work. And they're like, why? Or they can go all in spiritual, get really woo or in whichever form, and they still be like, okay, something is not working. Or they can go study the mind and get all this personal development, and they're like, why isn't it working for me? And so what I'm picking is that we're gonna kind of get the person and see what is it that needs to go right for you to thrive even after 40, which is really a very good age that Dr. Sanders has picked. And I'm going to ask her, like, why after 40, Dr. Sanders? Why after 40?
I believe that, just like a fine bottle of wine, as we age, there's so much beauty and perfection and complexity to who we are as individuals. And we can utilize the various different strengths that we've learned throughout our lifetime to maximize how we choose to show up in the world. I believe that as we age, we get to know ourselves a little bit better. We have a fond appreciation for what is working right within our lives and possibly what we might like to improve. And Prima, I want to take it back because you so eloquently said that we could just look at, if we're not looking at our being as a multi-dimensional being. If it's just a physical body, you may be missing things. If you're just looking at the mental body, you could possibly be missing things. Or if you're doing a spiritual bypass and you physically just are not connected into your body, you're definitely missing things. So the integrative approach, as you're talking about, is necessary to tap into the wisdom that all of us hold within our physical bodies. We're so wise. We are so smart.
In my head, I'm just thinking, what led you to start doing this work? What sparked? What was the spark for you? When did you decide you wanted to help women with this?
I wish that it was a linear process, but Prima, it was not. I wish I thought I was in control of the whole journey, but I was not. I just followed how life guided me into these areas and zones of strength in order to show up in a way that I can be of support to other people. Ultimately, the foundation of my desire to be of service was always there. And so that guided me from one degree to the next degree to the next degree. And honestly, I was not in control. Life just happened sequentially the way that it does. One thing led to the next thing. And now here I am showing up in my strength, supporting other women.
But what is it that you find that women struggle with the most after 50, after 40? What is the one thing that keeps occurring and recurring for you as you go through working with clients and listening? Like, what's the one thing that is coming up over and over and over and over? And you're like, yeah, this happens after 40. I just see this happening.
Yeah. There are common physical things that I hear over and over. Meaning that women can be like, oh, I wish I could go and do XYZ. I wish I could go dancing. I wish I could go to that aerobics class, but my low back bothers me. My hips hurt after I exercise. Or possibly an individual says, oh my goodness, I have such a relentless headache. I can't even get out of bed.
Mm.
Some other common things that I hear is that, I can't eat the same food I used to be able to eat. In fact, I feel like the food makes me sick. Like there's just some digestive disturbances or
Mm.
hormonal imbalances. Their body just hormonally does not operate the way that it used to be. Maybe their sleep is not good. Maybe they have a sluggish metabolism. Maybe they have digestive issues or they have issues with their adrenal system. And that's the human body's ability to share that there is a dysregulation
Mm.
happening physically, energetically, and neurologically within the body that is attempting to slow us down, attempting to dim our light, attempting to decrease our vitality. So I believe that the human body has an innate wisdom, a somatic intelligence, that if we were to slow down and turn our awareness internally and simply ask our body, intuitively what it needs, what it wants, what it desires, then chances are the body will start to heal itself. It's just a matter of creating the space and asking the right questions.
That's interesting. So the body is now beginning to show us something. Headache. I don't know, my hips pain, my back pain. You talk about the back, and I do have actually like a back problem. And digestive issues. I actually do have digestive issues. Like there's things I can't eat, or there's things I prefer to eat because they're easy for me. Like I prefer to eat pepper because that food goes better for me as food that doesn't have, because I don't know, I think my body doesn't digest as well. So this is interesting what you're saying. So why does this become more apparent as we grow? Why isn't this such a big problem when we're 20, for example? Like, why didn't I notice my back so much at 20? What's the difference now?
I think the awareness is different.
Hmm.
As we age and we experience life's experiences, right? We experience
Hmm.
life and our awareness can shift, and we have a greater awareness on our physical body as we age. And the physical body is just a starting point, Prima, because it
Hmm.
gives us information as to what we might be holding or not processing on an emotional level as well.
Hmm. The physical is kind of what gets in your face, but it can also mean there is something deeper, maybe emotionally or spiritually. That's really good. That's really good.
Mm-hmm.
So then, what is that? When people work with you, exactly what are you working on, or what's that process, or how do we get to raise or increase or get more vitality in? Like, what's that process? Or the people who work with you, like they come and say, I have a back pain, or they come and say, I have fogginess, or like, are they coming with a physical and you're kind of distilling it down to, yeah, there is more than that, so let's go there? Or is it a different
Mm-hmm.
way you help people?
Mm. Any and all of the above. To answer your question directly, pain is an incredible motivator. When you're
Hmm.
compromised and you can't do your daily activities or whatever brings you enjoyment, then you're
Hmm.
motivated to make some changes. And like I said, the body is so incredibly wise and intelligent that if we start to turn our awareness internally, then we'll start to see possibly some emotional components, perhaps chemical components, perhaps energetic components that also lead into the physical body. Now, Prima, if I may, I want to go back to you said, hey, I've got some low back issues.
Mhm.
So if you're comfortable, we can say, okay, well, Prima, let's look at your physical traumas? Have you experienced any sports injuries, any slips or falls or motor vehicle accidents? Are there any obvious reasons as to why you would be experiencing this low back pain?
I
And
think
you
we
can
should
think,
I think we should try and do this. That'll be fun if we
Okay.
can coach through this because I have never understood the black and white heart. So maybe coach me through this and let's kind of see where it goes. Because I don't know, I think it'll be fun.
Okay. Now I'm happy to do this. And if any point in time that you want to stop the conversation because it may be getting too intimate, then you have that prerogative to say, I've gone far enough.
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
Let's give it a go.
Okay. All right. So, Prima, you've come to me, and for the sake of today's call and for today's episode, you've come to me complaining about low back pain. And so, my obvious question, Prima, when did you first start noticing that you were experiencing low back pain?
Like 20 years ago.
20 years ago. And currently, how old are you?
41.
Okay, so that would have been about 21. Do you remember around when you turned 21 or even younger, did you have any major accidents that you can think of?
No.
Okay, so this pain just started insidiously, meaning that it happened gradually over time. All of a sudden, you realized that you had some low back pain that perhaps was limiting.
Yes, it started to develop, I think. There's no special occasion for this back pain, but I do remember at the moment, I think my mom had a mental issue, and so I had to go and live elsewhere with a relative where I could access the school. And I think that when I lived there, they lived a different life. They didn't have like people to help them, and they didn't have like house help. And so we did the work. And so maybe we bent, we did the washing, we did stuff. I did more work than I would normally do. And I think maybe that might have been the problem because at mom's house, I didn't do as much as I was doing then. So
Okay.
could be. Yeah, could be something.
I really appreciate you sharing that with us. So I just want to ask a few more questions. Are you still comfortable?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So my guess is, in your late teens, early 20s, to be uprooted from your physical home and transported into a new environment, it must have been unsettling in some way, shape, or form.
Yes, I think I was 15 because now I'm thinking about
Oh,
it. I was in senior one and I probably was 15 then. I probably was 15 then. So that probably is 20. I don't know, something. Yeah, but yes, the movement was unexpected because mom got a mental problem and it was new. Everything was new and I don't know, it was change.
yes, absolutely. And so when we deal with change, it kind of rocks our stability. It rocks our foundation. It makes things a little unstable, like we have a hard time trusting. Okay. Now, I bring all of this up because, Prima, we're talking about the physical body, and we made the gentle transition from the physical into the emotional body. What you experienced at 15 was an adverse reaction, a life experience, if you will. That would have been hard for any normal person, but you lived through this life experience, knowing that your mom perhaps needed some additional assistance. And at 15, that's a pivotal age for a young woman to want to be nestled and to be close to her mother, and then to be in a new environment. That sets the stage for some emotional challenges. And so energetically, okay, so we went from the physical to the emotional. Energetically, the first energy center that is located deep within the pelvis is all about survival. Survival at its best. And so we get to trust our environment. We get to trust our community, how we show up in the world for our family, how we show up in the world for for our community. All of those energetic themes revolve around the first chakra, which are most intimately connected into the pelvis, which is your low back, and intimately connected into the nerves that exit out of the low back.
Mm.
So here we've made the connection from the physical body into the emotional body, into the energetic body.
Mm.
So when we go about the healing, the recognition that you now have connected a few of the dots, it will give you a better awareness and perhaps an increased level of compassion for yourself as you live with the low back pain. So then we would take it from a multi-dimensional approach. Okay, so how can we create more flexibility, more strength within the pelvic bowl, helping the low back? So maybe there are exercises that we can do. Maybe there are nutraceuticals that we can do to help chemically support your adrenal system, which is connected into the low back. Maybe there are various different ways that we can change your sleeping patterns or your walking patterns to help support the rehabilitation of your low back. Then we can dive in a little bit deeper from an energetic perspective as to where you are holding the emotions within your pelvic bowl and help you to process the emotions and unstick the stickiness that's within the energetic field within your pelvis. So by taking this integrative approach and helping to enhance your awareness of your own physical body is incredibly empowering. So Prima, again, I know that we've just started this conversation, but as you start to connect into and feel the low back pain, the more you lean into your awareness physically, then your emotional body will come online and you'll be able to heal some of the discordance of some of the micro traumas or the childhood adverse reactions that you lived through when you were taken away from your mother and put into a different location at the age of 15.
Oh, I didn't even see the connection before. Like, okay. So let me ask. So when I was taken out of home to a new home, what would have happened is I would have been in survival, or I would have been in, it's like a crisis or a threat to my stability, or just feeling like, okay, my life is never going to be the same, or like, is that like, and then it deposited itself in the back, or what happened there? What would have
Yeah,
happened there?
it stores itself. I'm going to make a really generalized statement for the sake of this
Mm,
question. The
mm,
issues lie within the tissues. Your
mm,
body, the tissues of your body store that memory.
mm,
And if they're unprocessed memories, they become stuck in the body,
mm,
creating contraction, tightness, discomfort, or
mm,
dysregulation within the central nervous system.
mm. So then as I grow old, as I move through life, how does this look energetically? You talked about processing emotion and something like that. How would
Yeah.
that crop up energetically for me right now, for example?
Sure.
Or I don't know. How would you ask to know how it shows up?
Yeah, well, then I would be led into understanding what's happening neurologically for you. I would be
Mm,
looking for conditioned responses. So
mm,
I would be like, okay, Prima, so how does it feel for you to truly connect into your physical body? Do you allow yourself the opportunity to slow down long enough to really turn your awareness into the physical body? And then I would begin to ask questions such as,
mm,
where do you see the opportunity where you could possibly, just possibly, allow more trust in your life. And I mean trust like a capital T. Trust that you will always be loved. Trust that you will always be cared for. Trust that you will always have a family to take care of. Trust that your community values you. Trust that you have a purpose this lifetime around. Trust that being you is good enough.
This is interesting. So I get taken out of home. I get into this other home, these other conditions, and I'm like, okay, I don't know. This is not safe. This is never the same. That becomes a trust problem. But that now becomes a back pain, and I start looking at it as a back pain, but it's not a back pain. It's really like unresolved, could be unresolved emotion piling up. I now grow, and the back is the back, the back is the back, the back is the back. Okay. And then now it could be that you need to trust more. I don't know. I don't have trust issues, so I would have to really look deeper. I don't have like issues slowing down. So I would have to again look deeper there. Loved, cared for, family, community, purpose, good enough. I actually don't have the feelings of not good enough or not being loved and not being. That is not what is showing up for me. But what shows up for me is the opposite of I actually don't care to a point where I can be really not caring. I don't care if anyone thinks I'm good enough or not. And it can be to a point where it feels like, really? Is that normal? And so I do have the reverse effect where I would say if everyone left and I was in the world alone, I would be fine. I don't know. It's more to a point of, I don't know how bad it can get, but it'll be fine. So I don't know what that presents for you, but it's the opposite of all of these things. But on the extreme, where I have no problem taking people out of my life, moving on, closing chapters, and like really believe that I could be in the world as one person and still be fine. Like it's probably the extreme of everything.
Okay. Okay. So Prima, you are a beautiful, beautiful example. And again, I will give you the opportunity that if this gets too intimate, you tell me and we'll back out. But what you just explained to me was just, I could not have orchestrated this any better. So when you're looking energetically at that energy center located at the root of your spine, deep within the pelvis, I talked to you about the themes, and there's two more themes that come out of that on top of trust and security, and that is financial abundance and also aligning with your true purpose, like trying to know exactly why you're here on this planet. Now, what you said in the extreme one, again, a linear opposite of what I just talked about. In the energy center, you can have what is called an excess of energy, and you can have a deficiency of energy. Okay. So when you have a deficiency of energy, you don't have enough. And the best thing that we can do is energetically charge that system. What you are explaining is in excess on the polar opposite, 180 degrees opposite as to what I was explaining. And that's called an excess, meaning that you have too much stagnation or mucus or blockage within that energy center, and it gets to be released, cleansed, more space, more space for you to come back in midline. So instead of it being the individuation that you're talking about, where you are resourceful to provide for self and that you don't need the assistance of another human being, Then we can find neutrality in that energy center for a healing opportunity for you. And so once we cleanse that energy center and release some of that stuck energy, and then your low back pain will loosen and begin to lessen over time.
I like how you're explaining that, really, because I am very attached to my purpose. I do want to follow that. But the problem is anyone who gets in the way of that gets eliminated. Like I'm like a police person, or I'm like a soldier, or this is my purpose. This is where I'm being called to go. This is who I'm being called to serve. And anyone that gets in the way, God help you, because you will be eliminated. That's kind of the mentality. And it's very strange because it could be my best friend, but try and get in my purpose, and I will have no problem eliminating you. So you're saying, some extent, there needs to have a part of you that cares about losing a friend. And probably wants to do something to save that relationship. And if you find yourself on the extreme of, if you get in the way, God help you, you'll be eliminated. That's the extreme, which can be the energy. Okay, that's really accurate, because I'll be fine. Like I have this thing, like it'll be okay. I don't know what the worst case would be, but we can bounce back. It's fine. And that probably has a way of pushing whatever down, because I could be in a storm and I will still be fine. You could throw me, I don't know, into what situation, and I will be the person who is saying, okay, how do I get out of this? When everyone is screaming, like if you put me in a plane and it's going to crash, I'm probably thinking, who do I need to send the last message? What is it that I need to have on me to be identified? Who do I need to save in this? What message do I need? Like, I am thinking, I'm not thinking about dying. I'm like, the death is fine. But what is it that I can do before I go? What is the message I can leave in the world before I go? Like, I have a different response to danger, if it makes sense. Because when it's screaming and I'm like, huh, the house is burning. So what do I need? A passport. Okay, a laptop. And we will be outside. The house will be burning, and I'll probably be the person who's talking to the police and saying, I don't know what happened. And everyone will be screaming and crying. I'll be like, I don't know. It just started blowing up. I'll probably be the person speaking to the police, if it makes sense. And that probably means, where are the emotions? Where is the cry? Where is the fear that everybody else have? And why are you the person that is having the courage to? Does that make sense? So then
and Prima, and once again, I just want to gently point out that even though you're talking about your extreme responses, the themes of what you're talking about are safety, security, survival, first chakra themes. Intimately connected into your low back, connecting butt, thighs, knees, ankles, and feet, including bladder issues, including lower intestinal issues such as constipation, such as you may have issues in your feet or your ankles, or maybe even knee pain. All of that relates back into that first energy center.
Wow. That's pretty accurate. What else can we draw from there? It's only the back, though. It's the back that I recognize. I don't have many problems in my health, but I do have a back. I have to exercise it, take it to physiotherapy. And I know that it's always been there, but I'd never thought about it like energetically. So this is a very good conversation and a very good point of awareness, because now it could really be energy that has never been resolved, which is crazy, but it makes sense because I have sat behind this laptop for years, but I don't know if I had the back before this. So
right.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to make a statement that most people don't know. And that is your energy body developed before your physical body. I'll say it again. The energy body developed first. The polarity of the electromagnetic forces of your energy body is what created the cells, the trillions of cells that make up your physical body.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you're experiencing physical discomfort, why not treat the energy body?
Ignorance.
Perhaps.
I didn't even know energy was a thing.
I know. Yeah. And that is why that's my purpose, Prima, is to educate other people, specifically women, mature women who have lived life, who now have an awareness that there's something more for them this lifetime. So my purpose is to educate people like you so that now you're aware, you are now woke. So now you can literally hear the messages that your body is communicating for you, and your healing will take on, it becomes deeper and deeper and deeper and transformative.
I really like it because it was a bug. Now it's an energy. Now it's a mind. Now it's a mentality. I like where this could lead because I really can see like I have a mentality which most people like. I go to social media and I don't care who's doing what. I don't care who's doing what. I don't care who's driving what. I don't care who's drinking what. I'm just there, share my message, I'm more. But other people are very affected by social media. Other people are very affected by things that don't affect me. And my husband jokingly says, I have a disinterest something disorder. And I'm like, geez, but it's a joke. But I could go on social media and nothing affects me. Like, wow. Let's go to, that was really good. Is there anything you want to add to it?
No, I just appreciate your willingness to explore that within your own being on the show, because it is very revealing work.
I like it. I like when I can be a guinea pig on these shows because I don't know, people always think people have figured it out and they haven't. And I'm one of those people who really haven't figured out a lot of things in this 3-dimension, 6-dimension, 10-dimension. So I love it when I can be the past, the experiment, or the person who is being educated or coached. So I really like it. So the process is move from the physical into the mind, into the spiritual. And all of these problems that are appearing physically, you'll be shocked how much of them have nothing, okay, maybe not nothing, but less to do with physical than they have to. So then what's the danger with the medical system? And you're from the medical system. What's the danger with all of this and our standard medical system, where I knew that the thing that for me I needed to do was either chiropractic or physiotherapy? Like, give me like a light there. Like, how misleading can this be? Because I've never thought about energetic kind of angles with my back until I started going into this work and creating this podcast and meeting people like you. And I'm like, what else aren't the doctors telling us?
A lot. Science is showing us from a quantum perspective that the biology that we learned, and again, I went to school 34 years ago, 35 years ago, we're learning so much from the quantum perspective. So we're looking at the molecules and the submolecules and what's happening down into the finite, and we're seeing the energetic. We're really honoring the energetic. And so there are many practitioners that are just allopathic, straight allopathic physicians that don't even think about the connection between the mind, body, and spirit. And then there are
Mm,
some functional practitioners, then there are some integrative practitioners. And then time becomes an issue, Prima. Many physicians don't have the necessary space in their schedule to truly sit down and to better understand the individual who's sitting knee to knee with them. They are
mm,
beautiful spirits residing within their human home. And if you just start as a practitioner, start asking the right questions, then the body will give us the information. And I can't emphasize this enough. The human body is so smart. The
mm,
somatic intelligence that resides within each and every single one of us is nothing shy of brilliant.
mm. I'm really looking at like, the system that I have grown in and how we look at hosp hospitals and medicine, and I'm thinking, hold on. There's no consideration of the soul, there's no consideration of the mind. It is just the body, and let's treat the body. No wonder as you grow and grow and grow, things just persist and persist and persist because we're missing the dimensions. We're missing the triangle. And I think really this is a very good intersection between, I don't know, medicine and everything. There has to be the body, there has to be the soul, and there has to be the mind. Oh. Mm. What is it that we've missed out that if you didn't talk about it, you wouldn't feel like you've been on a podcast?
Mm, I think that we covered so much today because you were willing to allow yourself to be the guinea pig and to work through the process. So we took a very multifaceted approach to explaining what it is that energy medicine is. And if we look at
Mm,
our being coming from light, vibration, and sound, before we come into physical matter, we can use
mm,
those tools energetically to heal the physical body. So there's so much hope and optimism for our being to heal itself. Now, Prima, I don't want to, if I am in, and I don't wish this upon myself, if I'm in a terrible automobile accident tomorrow, I want to be rushed to the nearest ER facility that has the greatest medication and the latest technology in order to help put me back together. And then my
mm,
husband and I have this agreement that if that ever happens, then do what the hospital does and then get me out as fast as he can so that I can get myself in an environment in which I can
mm,
truly heal. So I
mm,
see the place for emergency medicine. I do. I just think that unfortunately, many people have a conditioned response physically, emotionally, chemically, spiritually, in which people become over medicated. And so that just dampens the somatic awareness, that dampens the body's ability to communicate to you. So then the messages get even more confusing. So over time, if left untreated, small things can turn up into being bigger things. And
mm,
so my intention is to educate as many people as I can and bridge the gap between the science, the hardcore science, and the science that is currently being proven that energy medicine is the way of the future as far as treating the human body from a integrative, functional, holistic, and energetic perspective.
It's more about energy medicine. I like how you're talking about the hospital as a first aid. Get there, save your life, but long time get long lasting healing or long lasting result. I really like how you're looking at it because the the hospitals have their place because they can save you from dying. But long term, you want to get complete closure on whatever. Tell me more about energy medicine. And if somebody was listening in and going, what is that? Educate us on energy medicine because I am not personally very familiar with it.
Okay. There's a
Mm,
couple of things that I want to talk about. And
mm,
that is our body is electrical.
Mm,
It is electrical. There is polarity that runs within our body.
mm,
We know that because of the years that Chinese medicine has been around. We're
mm,
dealing with a meridian system that we cannot diagnose physically out of the body.
mm,
But hundreds and hundreds of years tell us that if we balance the electromagnetic current that runs within the body knows how to heal itself.
mm,
So, energy medicine is about balancing the electromagnetic current that runs within us and surrounds us. We all have the ability to heal ourselves.
So energy medicine is you allowing your body to heal itself. You facilitating whatever your body needs to heal itself.
Correct?
Would you be able to kind of say under energy medicine we have this and this and this and this, or is it not that like that? Like, could we begin to hold our hands on something that is very tangible when you say the body heals itself? Like, what does that mean? Is that meditation? Is that awakening your intuition? Is that listening to your body? Is that sleeping more? Is that, what is involved in the body healing itself on the overview of energy medicine that we need to know if this is our first time to hear the word?
Right. I think under the umbrella, the definition of energy medicine will be any modality that can
Mm,
shift the electromagnetic current within your body, whether it be through light, sound, and or vibration, whether it be shifting levels of consciousness or meditation. So it can be anything. Like in my world, I would say that Reiki,
mm,
chiropractic, hands-on healing work, acupuncture, red light therapy, sound therapy, frequency, music therapy. There are so many modalities that address the human
mm.
energetics, thus promoting lasting and sustainable transformation when it comes to healing.
So energy medicine is this all forms of healing modalities, whichever one people decide to work with. So the body is there, the mind is there, which is like the awareness, but then finally you need to get a modality to give you the long-term results. So whether it's light, sound, colors, vibration, frequencies, whatever, like find a modality that you resonate with to do the deeper healing work beyond the surface. Am I getting that right?
You are getting that right. And I'm going to take it even further because you and
Mm,
I kind of tapped into the awareness of breath work. We
mm,
tapped into the awareness of meditation. And so
mm,
visualization, if we include that as being a modality of energy medicine, the body cannot tell what is real or perceived. So if
mm,
you are visualizing, let's say you have a tumor within your body and you visualize the tumor getting smaller and smaller and smaller and changing the color of it. And so it becomes more vibrant in that there is a frequency around that visualization and that intention, that can be
mm.
considered energy medicine. But it comes back to Prima understanding and listening to the wisdom that resides within your body.
So it's more and more and more about accessing your inner wisdom. And all these healing modalities are really meant to create a space where you're connected to your own body. What about the mind piece? Give me the mind
Yeah.
piece a little bit. What is the mind piece?
Yeah, I see the mind again. Thank
Mm.
goodness our brain is pliable. Okay, thank goodness, right?
Mm.
So, for all of the conditioned responses that you have a neurological wiring or pattern that exists within your brain.
Mm.
Now, through time and repetition, we can reprogram your brain to have a different conditioned response.
Hmm.
The brain is plastic, neuroplasticity.
Hmm.
So we know that we can set and influence the brain to have a different conditioned response with the physical body.
So then we have the NLPs, subconscious reprogramming, and all of that. I'm now really getting the work. So first of all is the physical body. I don't know. You could guide the body, you could sleep better, you could walk, you could exercise, you could stretch. There's things you can do to help the body, like I do. The physical part is not my problem. I do. But then there is the mental bit. Do we need to do something with the body? Do we need to get to the mind and help it? Do we need to install some new stories? Do we need to use NLP? Do we need to create new stories? Do we need to use hypnosis? I think this is the mind. And then there is the energetics. Do we need to release some bad energies? So then the work, really, what I now see is we have the body, whatever we need to do, we have the healing parts, and we have the mind part. What programs do we need running in our mind for us to be able to get to our highest level?
Your
Where did
highest expression of self.
highest expression of self, which is more like how we were born, I think. Born for the best. And then life beat us down. But we need to be able to bounce back so we can really get to the thing that we were supposed to do when we were born. That vision which we had, which has now died and it's now like here. Like I can't, I don't know how to do it, but like we need to remove all those things and kind of shoot again. What have we missed? Anything?
Nothing.
Tell us about the work. Tell us about the work you do, how you help people. But before that, walk me through what's possible. If I was listening to this for the first time and I had no idea about this other world, and I was like, really? Are they for real? Give me an idea of what's possible. For me, it's been the awareness and literally feeling into the blocks and the energy and kind of saying, using my intuition more, because before I used to think it's common sense. Now I know it's intuition. And now I can really trace back and see how it's guided me through a lot of things. It's always been there. It's always been, I have now tuned more into the body, seriously more into the body now. But before I would listen to the body, but I know there's people who don't. Everything that happens, they go for a pill. Everything that happens, they go for the pill. But the body is always talking. Give us like what's possible when we embrace this work, or give me like an idea of people you've worked with and what has been possible for them. Because I want the listener to know that there is some radical changes that are possible with this.
Wow, I don't even know where to start with that, Prima.
Pick
But
two or
I
three.
will share that I'm going to share a couple of different examples. Okay, so I had a patient who unfortunately had a blood cancer problem, and it was a
Oh.
rare form that started within the bone marrow. And so she did the lifestyle thing. She did the mental component. She also did the energetics. So to make a long story short, with time and repetition, combining energy medicine with a small dose of a chemo drug, she was able to decrease the cancer cells and the proliferation rate of those cells. That's truly transformative. She's in remission.
Wow.
Yes. Take another patient who has low back pain and hip pain. And she was an alcoholic for many, many, many years. She has now been sober for approximately 5 years, has an incredible spiritual foundation. She spends a lot of time in the spiritual, and she's bypassed the physical body all of these years because she had a belief system that her human home, her physical body, was not a safe place to be. Hence is why she used alcohol to escape. So
Wow.
now we're supporting her in coming back home to her physical home,
Wow.
getting the physical awareness, creating more space in the low back and within the hips.
Hmm.
Another awareness would be revolving around the function of the thyroid,
Hmm.
having autoimmune issues, Hashimoto's within the thyroid, working with people and aligning with their authentic expression of self, finding the voice and expressing boundaries is healing and reversing some of the autoimmune components within the thyroid. So
Hmm.
basically, we're using the body, the somatic intelligence of the body, to lean into these areas so that we can energetically help release some of the charge, the block, the excess, or we can charge the area of deficiencies, of underactivity, so that the electromagnetically the body becomes stronger.
Wow. So every day, do you have like an office where you do this energy medicine, or is this something that you now have an office and people walk in and it's energy medicine and you can do chiropractic and do this thing? Or how do people come to you? In what capacity do people come to you? Tell me more about how you work with people, because I'm now confused. Like, is there an office that says Dr. Mary Sanders Energy Medicine?
To answer your question, yes, there is. I have a
Wow.
small physical space. I don't know how many square feet it is, and
Mm,
I treat chiropractically.
mm,
Okay. So I have my hands on people 3 half days out of the week.
mm,
And then there are a few local people that come to me for energy medicine one-to-one here in my physical space. And then the majority of my time is holding space remotely for
mm,
patients that live outside of Colorado or perhaps outside of the United States.
mm.
And so there are people that I work with one-on-one, and then I also offer group healing transmissions on a monthly basis. And so somebody like you, Prima, depending upon our time zones, if they align, you
Mm,
can attend into the group healing transmission and you will be guided into the areas of your stored trauma within your physical body to heighten
mm,
your awareness, to spark your healing journey, just like we did today.
mm. Wow. COVID was one thing destructive, but another thing innovative. It really created things that would never, a chiropractic, working with people all over the world, healing people all over the world, doing this work, but having no boundary. I think that was God saying, I want more healing in the world. And the way it's going to happen is I'm going to put a disaster on, which allows people to officially work. Because, like in Uganda, the work you do, I think people will get to know of it 20 years ago, later. Because, like, if I wasn't online, I wouldn't know this. If I wasn't doing the thing I do, I wouldn't know this. And so I think COVID came to really like teach us that if you're skilled and you can help people and you have gifts, this is really God saying there's no limit to what you can do because I'm going to open borders. And you won't need a visa, you won't need a passport, you won't need nothing. You won't even need a location. Like, it's crazy. Really crazy. When I look at it now, hearing the work you do, it's
And
crazy.
energy is never created nor destroyed. It's not bound by time nor space.
Mm,
So it gives me, and Prima, I say this with all sincerity, to know that I get to and can create a sacred healing space for others remotely on the other side of the world
Mm.
to help with their transformative healing so that they can be in alignment with their greatest sense of self. I know that that ripple effect energetically is so hugely expansive. And as I
Yes.
said at the beginning, Prima,
Mm.
I set out to be a chiropractor. And then life led me into better understanding positive psychology. And then life
Mm.
guided me into another path in order to understand intuitive medicine. And then it keeps cycling around, and I keep trying to ask for the way that I can show up in my essence. And this is what is happening. So I invite everyone listening to keep asking for ways for them to show up in their essence and just be simply marveled at what happens.
It's crazy because I started here in a job and I was like, no, there has to be another way. And then I started a business. That was a bricks and mortar. Did it for 6 years. It was very successful. And then COVID hit. And I was like, now what? What do I need to do now? And for some reason, I came online. And no one gets this. But that was it. Like I came online and one thing led to another, led to another, led to another. And now I see myself entering this world of spirituality and healers and subconscious work. And I'm like, wow, isn't this a destination to some place? But to do that, it's like you have to develop a surrender muscle. I don't know if you want to talk to that. If somebody has gifts and they are held back by how do I do it and I'm not qualified and I'm not worthy, whatever the thing is, how what has been your process of surrender? Because I feel like you have to really, like, I have had to develop the muscle to not know where it's going and still go anyway and still take the step in faith. How have you
Yeah.
managed to move from place to place to place without the evidence that where you were going was the, I don't know, like give me that piece. Because I know the person who's listening is instinctual and is on this path. And I do not know how, but I need to keep asking. How do you keep moving when you don't see the step in front of you? And yet
Mhm.
you know that you're on the right path, but you don't kind of see step 1 to 10. How do you do it?
I wish there was an easy answer, and I do hear your question. And so let me just be honest. When I came into this world
Mm.
thinking that I was in control.
Mm.
And so when I learned that I was not in control, I
Mm.
lost my element of grace. I went
Mm.
kicking, screaming, crying, clawing my way, trying to figure out how to get back into control. Life has taught me,
Mm.
right? I can exert a tremendous amount of effort to try to control things, organize things,
Mm.
strategize things, thinking that I'm in control. But really, the path of least resistance, when you step into the ease of grace and allow the effort it becomes effortless.
Mm.
Now, there are times that I still like to think that I'm in control, Prima, and then life will teach me something really fast that, oh, you're following back into that conditioned response. But my meditation practice, my grounding practice, my spiritual practice, holding
Mm.
space for other people, the more frequently that I do this, it's part of my daily routine. So I
Mm.
surround myself in that environment so that I can be led down the various different directions and paths that I need to go. So for those that are listening and that are struggling, you know what? You're on the path. The struggle is the path.
Mm.
Lean into the struggle and look at that so that you can find the grace and the ease that's underneath it.
Mm. I really like that. For me, it's been more just tuning of things, tuning of things that distract me, social media. I don't know. just silencing your outside world so that your inner world can get louder. Because once the outside world is very loud, I think it's harder to listen to the what's coming on the inside. For me, it's really been more of silencing the outside, intentional silencing of the outside, intentional removal of noise and distraction, and forcing myself to be by myself so that whatever is on the inside can begin to talk. And I think for me, it's been even setting the intention that, okay, I don't know the next step. So I need to see something. Please, God, send clues in my way. And literally having, I think, the stillness to catch the clues and the messages when they come and the downloads when they come. Because I think you can still pass if you're not still enough. So I don't know if you're listening and going, but how? I don't know, just silence, try and see if you can silence the outside and see what happens. It's been my experience, and I am not in 6D or whatever. Like I'm just like you. But my experience has been if you silence the outside, your inner world starts to speak to you and you begin to listen to your body and you begin to see the clues and messages and help when it comes, and the step will be there. But if you're not still enough, you might miss the step. I want to ask again, you have physical work for someone who is in, what is the location again?
I'm in Boulder, Colorado.
Okay. So if you are within that and you can get on site, I think that's the best thing to do. But if you're like me and you're miles and miles and miles, I think that there is opportunity to work with Dr. Mary Sanders through Zoom. And if you need to meet her physically, I think that can be arranged, but there is opportunities to work with Dr. Mary Sanders through Zoom. You said you have a group container and one-on-one for the
I do.
virtual.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So what I'm going to convince her to do is put a call, like a link to book a call. Would you sit on that, like to talk to someone and see if you can help?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It would
Mm,
defy all natural laws for another human being to be curious about my work and the opportunities that lay before them without having questions.
mm,
It's natural for the human brain to work that way. Discovery calls are always an option on my website. You can sign up for and reserve a space free of charge just to connect with me and to talk with me and say, hey, listen, I'm not really sure if you're the gal that's for me or if you can really help me, but let me share with you what's going on. And so I love discovery calls. They're a
mm,
wonderful way to meet one to one. And many times, Prima, I love the remote work that I do because what ends up happening is that my container, my ability to expand my energetic awareness becomes so heightened that I
mm.
believe that my remote work actually is more powerful than the work that I do face to face or
Wow.
in person, I should say. So, anyhow, many opportunities. If you're curious, if you have questions,
Mm.
just reach out. That's my offer.
We'll put the link to connect with Dr. Mary Sanders in the show notes or even in the comment itself, which is pinned. So have a look there and see if you can find a space that works for you. This is a spiritual podcast. So if Dr. Mary is your person who's gonna help you, you can already feel it. Like you already know. You already have a sign that says, go on, book this because this is it. If it's not, chances are you have a 1 degree connection that literally needs to meet Dr. Mary to change their life. And so, really, the way the podcast works is it's a triangle. Over here is Dr. Mary Sanders with all of her gifts as a chiropractic, a deeply spiritual person, and somebody that understands the mind. Over here is me, who is really a translator for the soul. That's my gift. And you can imagine this is you, and your work is like a vessel for the message. And so, if you're listening, really you're here because there is either you or somebody that is literally 1 degree separation, that if they met Dr. Mary, that their life would never be the same. So I want you to honor this moment and ask yourself, who do I know that needs more vitality in their life? Who do I know that is slowing down and dragging down? But I don't know if it's menopause or whatever the thing is dragging them down, and they've tried doctors upon doctors and upon doctors. And really what you feel within your bone marrow right now is that they need energy medicine. I want you to honor this moment and pick the link by copying. That must be a way you can copy it or share. But I want you to take it straight to the inbox or private space and share it. And the message is, I listened to this podcast and I thought about you. However you want to say it. Let them listen in and let them discover Dr. Mary Sanders. And together we can really make the world a better place. Of course, that's on top of sharing. That's on top of, I don't know. What does the platform allow you to do? I don't know. Are they saying follow? Are they saying subscribe? Are they saying rate, comment? I don't know, honestly. But if this is helping you, find a way to support me by doing any of those things. Because when you do those things, you're literally blowing a whistle and saying, I am calling an assembly. And literally, that is the best marketing that I know so far. You deciding that this work needs to be shared and sharing it. All right. Dr. Mary, we're getting to the end, and we would love to take your last words of wisdom with us to keep reflecting on them. What would that be?
Just a reminder that the energy body comes first.
The energy body comes first. And we get to be human beings, which means there is a body, there is a soul, and there's really a mind. And to consider one and ignore others is almost not helpful. When we can learn to consider our body as this triangle, then we can make sense of the things that nobody ever made sense, or the doctors didn't make sense. You can literally make sense of anything that you've carried for most of your life. And I don't know about you, but 40s is when I want to get strong and start doing this stuff. I didn't know all of this when I was younger. Now I do, and which gives me a ticket to have the same chance I had when I was 15. And so I hope that you can take this and use it in whatever way that really serves you the best. Dr. Mary, thank you so much for spending your day with us, your hour or so with us. We really celebrate you, not just for today, but for the time in the wilderness where nobody knew you, nobody saw you, nobody celebrated you, but you went on from this to that, qualified here, qualified there, so you can become the one-stop place to hold this space for us. We really celebrate that. If no one has ever done it, we do that here at Best Kept Secret. So thank you for being in the wilderness and for making it to this point.
Blessings. Thank you for having me.
All righty. Until next time, have a good one. I will talk to you in yet another episode, and keep safe. Thank you for joining this conversation on the world's Best Kept Secret podcast today. If you feel ready to stop keeping your work a secret, head over to primajope.com and request a free conversation. Until next time, please remember that there's no prize in keeping your work a secret.